もしもし。
Welcome back for another episode of Phone It In right here on SoBros Network. Mine's right, asses tight as we tackle arguably the biggest episode of the year. I feel like at this point, 5 years. Wow, 5 years of Phone It In here on SoBros Network. But I feel like this is one that is one of our more eagerly anticipated episodes. We are going to be sharing some supposedly true, creepy stories from the bowels of Reddit. I'm your host for the show, the EIC at SoBrosNetwork.com, Big Natural Stoney Keeley. If you're watching with us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you take in your live streams, jump into the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're drinking on this fine Monday before Halloween. And look at us, by the way, right on time at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. That rarely happens. It's always my fault, but we're here. And couldn't do it without the cryptid queen herself, Rooster. Rooster, how are you doing on this fine Monday? You got any big Halloween plans?
No, passing out candy. That's it.
Yeah. Do you guys get a lot of action in your neighborhood?
I don't know. We bought this house last year before Halloween, and then we went to Scotland, so we were not here.
Wait, did you get to spend Halloween in Scotland?
Yep.
How was that? How do they do things over there?
Well, the UK doesn't really celebrate Halloween that much.
Yeah.
I think it's changing. I think it's becoming more of a thing over there. But it's not a big holiday for them. There was like a Samhain thing, but like the tickets went on sale and sold out super quickly. We were like right outside of it, so we could sort of hear and see the lights and stuff. But I don't know. I saw the comments saying you couldn't see shit. It was really muddy. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's not that bad that we missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just no. I mean, it's great for fall, but not very Halloween-y.
It's Halloween has become, I'm 38 years old, and I recognize it as a young single man's holiday or single woman's holiday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or for kids, you know.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, obviously. My wife and I were in Knoxville over the weekend, and we went out on Saturday night after seeing Dusty Slay perform. And we went over to Market Square, and we're just kind of moseying around, looking for somewhere to eat. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Everything's about to close because it's Knoxville. It's not Nashville. Forget there are different rules there. And we just kind of like walk by this club. There's a nice like seafood oyster bar that my wife was like, oh, maybe we could check this place out. And we got closer and we realized the place next door, there's a line, and it's all these young college-aged kids in their costumes and music blaring from the club. And I actually caught myself saying like, oh gosh, I bet you that music, you're going to hear it reverberating in this restaurant. Let's go somewhere else. But it did just kind of take me back for a moment. And I realized like how far gone I am from those days. Like
yeah.
I don't wear a costume anymore. I've got my festive Halloween shirt on, and we just sit in the driveway. I might drink from a bottle of whiskey, and we just pass out candy to the neighborhood kids. And
I've got like a skeleton onesie thing I'm going to wear.
Nice.
While I pass out candy. I honestly thought about getting a Rasputin costume.
That would be so cool. That would have been awesome.
It's gonna have like the beard.
Yeah.
And like really put a lot of dark eyeshadow on my eyes so they looked really fucking freaky. But yeah, I just didn't do it because it would have only been funny to take a picture of, and like for people who've seen the show. Yeah.
Kelly would have gotten it though. Kelly would have gotten it. Yeah. And Brittany too. Yeah. Brittany too. Yeah. It would have been worth it. It would have.
I seriously considered it. It would have been cheap. I just never did it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we ended up at a burger place on the other side of the square. And we're like, no, that's not what Halloween is to us anymore.
Yeah.
But respect to all the people that do still get into it. So year 5, creepy Reddit stories.
Yeah. 5. Wow.
Any to take a moment to pause and reflect on 5 years of Phone It In, 5 years of creepy Reddit stories?
The only one I really remember is, well, I remember the grandma one. It wasn't actually the grandma.
That's not grandma. That story was pretty good. Was that last year?
I think it was just last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. And
And
then
then of course yours.
I didn't even mean to bring
That we
that
will
much
never beat.
that was good, where the guy saw something stalking him in the woods. It's hard to do it justice, and it's been a few years, so I don't remember the story. But yeah, I remember getting to the end of that episode and you being like, "Holy shit, I didn't realize we were going that hard." That was a pretty terrifying story. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of feel like you and I were talking about this before we went live on here, and I kind of feel like the people on Reddit, one, it's getting, I don't know if you felt this way, but it's getting kind of harder to verify, okay, is this actually supposed to be a true story or is this fiction? Because people just don't respect the rules. There were a couple of things that I stumbled upon, was like, this is good, and then you get a paragraph in, and you're like, this is too good. Like nobody writes like this. And then you get to the end of it, and the comments are like, yeah, this is pretty good, but this is fiction. It belongs in another subreddit. These are only true stories. So it gets hard to kind of decipher that. But then I also feel like the quality in these subreddits has kind of dropped a little bit. I had a little bit of trouble trying to find anything worth a damn this year. Then there were a couple that I found that I really liked, but then you get into the comments and the original posters like, please don't share this. Like I'm talking about this for the first time. I don't want anybody identified, but this is my story. And, you know, I'm kind of like, well, why'd you post it on Reddit then to begin with? But
yeah,
respecting their wishes, left those stories out of my my selections for the day. But what do you think about the overall selection process this year?
I tend to go for like the Ask Reddit like master posts. So it's like, here's everything that's creepy, paranormal, terrifying, scary, like whatever, just different adjectives that don't really mean anything. But and then I just kind of go through and click on them. Yeah. Strange is good. So I go through and, you know, I click on ones that look good, but it just seems like, I don't know if there's less people on Reddit nowadays,
That might be part of it.
If there's people are just more skeptical these days, so there's not as many like good ghost stories. Like everything is just kind of creepypasta bullshit instead of like, I don't know, like people are too cynical. People aren't as smart. Maybe I was just a fucking idiot.
I can't tell you. I feel like I came across like at least 5 stories where I'm like, this sounds like sleep paralysis. And then you read through the comments and everybody's like, this sounds like sleep paralysis. And the guy's like, no, I swear it's not sleep paralysis. How could I move if it was sleep paralysis? It's like, well, it's like a state of dreaming. Like, I don't know. I've had sleep paralysis quite a bit in my past. Thankfully haven't had it in a long time, but like I could still move in some of those situations. Stuff was still like processing for me. So I don't know. It's really hard to kind of pin down, okay, this sounds like a story we can work with here.
Yeah. And there's just like bad storytelling too. Some that look like that's a pretty decent story, but you told it in like 2 sentences. And I mean, I don't know. You could have done better.
I came
very
across
judgy.
Yeah, I came across one that was like, I saw the Slender Man in the woods when my sister and I went out to smoke. I don't know what it was. It's just a big thing that looked like a head without a face.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what are you smoking in the woods? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, where's the
well,
flare?
Okay, look, you basically just explained one of mine that I have. So.
Okay, good. All right.
No, it was a struggle though. Like I was reading for a few days and not finding much of anything good. And then, you know, I technically have 4 I just feel like they're kind of short and not that great. So we're really selling this episode.
I know, right? Go
I
back.
hope.
Stop what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Press pause. Go back and listen to years 1 through 4. Catch that one about that hunter in the woods being stalked by a skinwalker. We don't know if that was what it was, though.
No.
I can't remember that one.
It almost kind of sounded like a rake, like what people talk, like the rake thing.
Did we have a Wendigo story in there somewhere too? Maybe something like that.
I don't know.
But the grandma story was for sure fun.
That's a good one.
That was weird as shit.
I mean, to be fair, I think I do have some decent ones that are weird.
Well, I don't feel as good about my selections.
They might be fine. We're being overly critical because we had to wade through a lot of shit.
And I admit that I do judge every story that I read from now on off the standard of that one story of the dude.
Yeah, I know. It is tough. It's tough.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the gist of both of these stories, because people are probably watching or listening to this right now like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Well, he was hunting and it was some weird thing in the woods, and then it noticed him, and then he's trying to get away.
And it was talking like a human, not talking, but like making human like noises.
Didn't it look like a person crawling on all fours? Or did he even see it? It like looked kind of, he couldn't tell what it was.
He was looking through the sights of his rifle, and all he saw were the two eyes standing back from like, but it was from like 500 yards away. It was like parallel mountain ranges. And so he finds this thing from forever away, and its eyes are pointed directly at him. That was cool.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. We've got a comment from JT in the chat. My personal scary story. I bought a pumpkin to carve one year, and as I walked out, I said to myself, this pumpkin looks evil. I turned around and realized I was walking out of the evil store. That's a terrifying story.
The evil store.
I feel like I ask this every year, but I know some people might be tuned in, listen to us every year. There's a new cycle of listeners and supporters. What is the most scared you've ever been in your life? Do you have any good, true, scary stories?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking JT.
God, I don't really have any.
We tried to manufacture a scary story for you when you were in Tennessee back in August, and we went out to my mom's house, all the woods out there, but nothing weird ever happened. No.
I mean, I'm telling you, like, the only scary stories I have are like of freaking myself out. I mean, there was once where I was like a little kid, I was watching Child's Play, and like something loud fell in my house, and that scared me. There was a time where me and my friend were walking through like an abandoned house. We would go in, get really freaked out, run out, go in a little bit further, run out, but it just looked like a squatter lived there. Yeah.
That could be terrifying though.
Yeah. I mean, terrifying in a different way for sure.
Yeah. I've written about a bunch of the times I've been scared. It's up on SoBrosNetwork.com. The Shadow Man of Gladeville is the name of the story. I don't know how to tell it without going on a 30-minute long tirade, but one of my friends saw the silhouette of a person in the woods when he went out to take a leak one night, because that's what we did when we were teenage boys in Gladeville, Tennessee, next to 200 acres of woods. Didn't want to go through the house to wake up my parents. You just walked outside, pissed in the yard. And he saw a shadowy silhouette in the woods. And when it saw him, it stepped out into the moonlight, but it was still just a shadow. It was still just a silhouette. And that was pretty fucking freaky. And there was some freaky stuff that happened after that. And there's been a lot of freaky stuff that's happened to me. So, but yes, I have some true Reddit scary stories that are up on SoBrosNetwork.com. All right, well, let's get to it then, Rooster. I don't know. Do you have the story that you feel confident, like this is the main event, this is the headliner, we should end with this story?
Yeah, I should have thought about that.
Because I don't feel like I have that story. Maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. but I'm trying to figure out.
Well, then you go first. I feel like I have they're kind of regular, like with real people though, but still like pretty terrifying.
Okay, good. I'm gonna kick us off then with a story from user Queen Jen. This is called the Campsite Creep.
Oh.
This happened back in 2010 when I was 15 years old. I was on a camping trip with my class in school. My best friend Charlotte and I were disliked by all our classmates, so we kept to ourselves for the most part, both in school and during this trip. We had one friend that we hung out with a lot, but other than her, no one wanted to be near us. This is actually a sad story. My God, what are we doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, well, nobody wants to hang out with these losers.
Yeah. I had my camera with me, as I always had back then. My camera, along with my diary, was basically an extra limb for me back then. It was a very nice, hot summer day, and Charlotte photographed me as I sat on a big rock by the water writing in my diary. We were silly, as we always were, laughing and making funny poses, etc. And from out of nowhere, we heard a voice from behind us. Some guy was standing there. We had no idea for how long he had been there. He started talking to us, and we had a hard time understanding most of what he was saying. He had a very dark voice and didn't speak our language very well. He said he was from Bulgaria and was camping nearby in his trailer. We exchanged looks like, what does he want from us? Here's a snippet from my diary from back then. Quote, all right. we could have trimmed the all right out. Just saying. I know we get all judgy editing people's technical prowess when sharing these stories on Reddit, but that's neither here nor there. That's just me being a pompous asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte and I were by the water. I sat on top of a big rock and she photographed me. Then some older dude came that could barely speak. He asked how old we were and what our names were. Then he took a seat next to me and asked if I had a boyfriend and stuff. Then he started asking Charlotte to photograph me and him together. That's okay. The diary entry's over with.
Okay.
That's a fucking, man. Can you imagine? Oh God, I'd be so.
See, these are all like real life people that are the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he started asking Charlotte to photograph me and him together. We thought he was kind of creepy, but young and naive as we were, we didn't think much of it. Had it been today, I probably would have just said no and asked him to leave us alone. He sat there next to me, smiling at the camera. I remember how extremely uncomfortable I felt, which is very visible in that photo that I still have to this day.
Oh my God. Give it to the police.
It was very weird, though. He asked for a picture, but as soon as Charlotte snapped that photo, he exclaimed, no pictures, no pictures. Charlotte and I looked at each other again, both equally confused. Why did he ask her to take a photo of us if he didn't want his picture taken? The whole situation was strange and started to creep us out. I don't remember much else about our conversation, but I know Charlotte and I ran off to our teachers eventually and told them about the guy. They told us to stay away from him because something about him seemed off. We agreed and went on with our day.
That's putting it lightly.
Oh. Jesus Christ. Did you hear this cat?
I did. What did he do?
The fuck? He just jumped. He just jumped like crazy.
Oh.
I don't know what he heard.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Why does this always happen in this episode? Okay, where was I?
Teacher told him not to.
We agreed and went on with our day. We hung out with our friend a lot and kept taking photos and having fun. I still don't know what this fucking cat is spooked about. You okay, bud? It's okay. Try to blink at him. All right, I think we're good. All right. Later, we needed to use the bathroom, which was in a building near the trailer park. As two of us waited outside while the third was in the bathroom, that Bulgarian guy showed up.
Oh my God. Teachers, what are you doing?
That uncomfortable feeling appeared as soon as I saw him. We had some friends there with him this time. He had some friends there with him this time.
Oh my God.
He walked up to me and asked me if I wanted to come see his trailer. This time I knew nothing good would happen if I went with him. He kept saying his trailer was so nice and he wanted to show it to me. He even tried to bribe me by saying I could get some beer if I went with him. I'm only 15 and I don't drink, I told him. He gave up after a while and walked back to his friends.
I'm sorry. How these 15-year-olds not know? Like, I mean, I'm not going to victim blame anybody, but I honestly thought they were younger. I forgot how old you said.
Yeah.
I thought they were younger. Like, this would scare the shit out of me. I would be like, this man is trying to kidnap and rape me.
Yeah. A few hours went by before we needed to go to the bathroom again. This time, he was outside the building already when we arrived. It was as if he had been standing there all along, just waiting for us to show up again. My heart sank and I got this lump in my stomach. Once again, he came up to me and kept asking me to come with him to the trailer. He kept talking about the beer and how lovely his trailer was. I kept saying no, and he seemed to grow agitated. My friends and I decided to go into the bathroom together this time, and when we were done, we basically ran past him back to our camping spot. We went directly to our teacher and told her all about how he was acting, especially towards me. She was furious. She told us to stick together at all times and never go to the bathroom by ourselves. We hadn't planned on leaving each other alone anyway, especially not after this. And later that day, when we had been playing around and listening to some music on our phones, we were walking back to the camp. As we walked past the tents, we saw our teacher further away talking to that man.
Good.
We could tell she was really giving him a mouthful. At one point, she pointed at the soles of her shoes and then at him, and we were like, what is she saying to him? We started laughing, but were nervous at the same time since we didn't know how he would react to this afterwards. We saw him walk away. He looked at us, giving us the finger as if we had done something wrong. We ran up to our teacher and asked her what she had said to him. She was all riled up and told us, I just told him to leave my girls alone and that he could go somewhere else to get water in that bucket he was carrying as an excuse to walk through our campsite. We cheered for her and then asked why she had been pointing at her boots earlier. Apparently, she had threatened him with her steel caps, saying they would leave a print on his ass if he came near her girls again. She was a great teacher indeed. After this, whenever we ran into him, he just gave us the finger. Another snippet from my diary. When Charlotte, Ellen, and I went to the church and took pictures, we met the man in blue on our way back. We got really scared, but all he said was, hey, excuse me, and gave us the finger. I just said, thanks, you too, and we kept walking. We called him the man in blue because of the blue t-shirt he was wearing. When we were going to sleep that night, one of our teachers got their car and parked it close to our tent, and they would take turns keeping watch during the night. We didn't see him again, and we all had to call our parents and go home around 4 a.m. because of the weather. It was absolutely pouring all night. Our entire tent was drenched inside out. A few days later, I actually saw that guy downtown, and my heart skipped a beat. Luckily, he didn't notice me, and I have never seen him since. It's very creepy to think about what would have happened if I agreed to visit his trailer. I didn't quite understand it all back then. It didn't really sink in that he was an adult and I was only 15. It didn't occur to me how freaky and disgusting this guy really was until I thought back to that moment all these years later. The end. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it happens, right?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Man,
men love teenage girls. It is crazy. It is crazy. If you have been a teenage girl, you fucking know. You know.
I haven't been a teenage girl.
Yeah.
But I can respect the perspective.
Yeah.
So I just I don't know, some weird shit happens in parks.
Yeah,
we've talked about some different kind of weird shit that's happened in parks on this podcast before, but that's one that, like I said, I think the thing that kind of creeped me out reading that story was just how real it felt. It's like this is something plausible that can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, but y'all go to your parks and have some fun. Go camping.
Park stories are always good because parks are creepy. There's weird shit.
I think I've got I don't think the other one has a a parking, or is a park story after all. All right, so Rooster, that's story 1 for me. I've got 2
Yours
more.
is long. Mine are short.
3 each. I thought that one was a little shorter than it actually was. I didn't realize my cadence telling the story would drag it out a little.
Yeah,
It's got me a little nervous about the other 2 I have, but nonetheless, you're up. Story number 1.
Okay, so this comes from an Ask Reddit thread that was, "What paranormal activities have you witnessed?" And this is from SoFlog. They wrote, "I don't believe in paranormal activity, but my grandparents' house is considered by many to be extremely haunted. It's part of a tour of haunted houses in the LA area, and according to legend, was part of the inspiration for American Horror Story." Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
that's
know. Well,
neat.
that made me excited. Like, oh, hell yeah. The first season was so good. And that's what I assume they're talking about, because that was very haunted house. There are tons of stories, but the one I experienced myself was when I was living there as a child. I was about 6 years old, and my sister was 12, and we shared a room. My mom had decorated our house table with an antique telephone that didn't work and was not plugged in. My sister and I were asleep, and for some reason, we both woke up at the same time and turned to face each other. I remember feeling an extreme feeling of dread. Then the phone rang in between us.
Ooh.
Okay, because they have 2 different beds and there's like a table. Okay.
Yeah, like a hotel.
Yeah. Hotel.
Hotel.
We locked eyes and both hid under our blankets till it stopped ringing. We both thought it was a dream because we didn't say anything for years about it. Then one day she was talking about it, and we realized we had the same exact experience. There are so many other stories, but that's the only one I experienced directly. That's it.
That's pretty creepy.
I mean, I kind of like those for the people who are like, yeah, I'm not really, it's not like anything huge. It's not anything major, but it's like, this happened. Absolutely no way it could have or should have happened. And 2 people experienced it, and we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, I kind
Oh,
of like those
man.
ghost stories because that's way more believable. Like, if anything happened to me, I think I would kind of brush it off that way. Be like, yeah, this super fucking crazy thing happened. I don't know.
Glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see. I don't know which one
Starting it off with a softball.
I don't know which one I'm going to go with. I've got one strange. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to get this one over with.
Okay.
This one's called "I Saw My Dead Dog or Something Pretending to Be Him." This is Ren_1624 on Reddit. Okay. Growing up, I had a pet dog named Monty. He was my mom's dog from a previous marriage, and we shared custody of him with my mom's ex, alternating, who had him every week or so. I can't remember the timing well, as I was a child when this happened. Monty died when I was 6. I was in the room when he died and witnessed the whole thing, from his last breath to him lying on the floor motionless with his eyes open, staring at me. It's a sight I don't think I'll ever forget. I've been there, buddy. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long after his death this happened, but I know it was at least a few weeks, possibly even a few months later. However, it is a night I will never forget. For context, the bathroom was at the end of the hallway, with my bedroom on the right and my parents' bedroom directly opposite mine to the left of the bathroom. Just down the hall was a baby gate, and behind the gate was a third bedroom with the airing cupboard opposite. I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
But this guy's saying mum, so he's probably English.
English, yeah.
Yeah.
Airing cabinet?
Yeah, airing cupboard.
Oh, like maybe to dry stuff off?
I don't know.
Like dishes?
Past that were the stairs leading to the bottom floor. The night started as normal. I had tea. Oh, he is English.
Yeah.
I had tea, went up to bed, and fell asleep. I woke up at some time past midnight. This I knew, as both my parents were asleep, and my dad came to bed much later than my mom and I. As I lay there awake in my bed, I realized I needed the toilet, but something was bothering me. A feeling I had to stay in my bed and hide. After a few minutes of staring through the crack of my slightly open door, with the feeling of dread only worsening, I got desperate and eventually decided to risk it and go to the bathroom. I might have just pissed my bed at 6 years old, feeling like that.
Yeah.
I grabbed my headlight, turned on the torch. He is English.
For sure. And he said toilet, which is very English to say as well.
And placed the band around my head. Taking a final look before pulling back my duvet and jumping off my bed onto the cold wooden floor, I headed to the bathroom, and once I had finished, I washed my hands and dried them off. On my way out of the bathroom, I closed the door slowly and quietly, not wanting to make much noise, when the horrible feeling returned full force. I remember turning around with the light of my torch facing the stairs when I saw a figure so black it was like a void. It was moving up the last steps and onto the hallway. I stood there frozen when my torch suddenly turned off.
Oh, no.
I panicked, pressing the on-off button repeatedly to no avail while the figure moved closer. It looked like it was on all fours, and the outline was that of my departed dog. But at the same time, it was constantly changing shape, almost like a blob of water trying to stay together.
It's weird.
Even though I had no light, I could see the figure moving like a shadow of the darkness itself. The figure was reaching the gate, getting so close, while I was still frozen like a statue from fear. I was shaking just staring at this thing until it reached the gate and somehow started moving through the metal bars, at which point I screamed and screamed. I was screaming so loud I didn't hear my mom get out of bed and open the door. She turned on the light and pulled me into her arms. I was just a crying, shaking mess. "Monty," I shouted as I pointed down the hall. "There's nothing there, Aaron," she said, trying to soothe me. "There's nothing there." Confused, I pulled back slightly to look for myself, and she was right. The figure had gone. At that moment, my torch came back on, and the feeling of dread started to subside. Everything was silent and calm. To this day, I don't know what I saw, but something tells me it wasn't my dog. The end.
The end. Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
That would freak me out.
Yeah, definitely. How was he, 6? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that he had a little headlamp to go to the bathroom. That's cute.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, don't know much about fashion.
Okay. My next one is, was the scariest paranormal activity you experienced? Slightly different than the other one. This is from Purple Supernova.
Okay. A+ name.
Yeah. It's also really short. My next door neighbor growing up was a friend of mine, and we had a kind of hangout spot in the patch of woods that ran behind our houses. We were about 14 and were experimenting with cigarettes, menthol cigarettes. In the comments, this was so that they weren't like marijuana cigarettes.
All right.
Okay. Because just to clarify, they're not getting high.
Thank you.
We were experimenting with cigarettes. So that's where we went to hide. We were out there one day towards sunset and heard her grandmother calling to us. We panicked and put our cigarettes out so we wouldn't get caught. And as she called our names again, her voice sounded closer this time. That's when we realized that A, her grandmother lived at least 3 hours away and to our knowledge was not expected for a visit.
Ooh.
And B, the voice was coming from deeper into the woods, not from our backyards.
No, fuck that.
We freaked out and dashed out of the woods to the safety of our yards. And as we ran, we heard her call out one last time, but her voice sounded different this time. Kind of deeper and angry sounding. I'm getting chills.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. That gave me chills too. I don't love that.
We did not enter those woods ever again unless it was broad daylight, but we never heard anything like that again. Scariest experience of my life. I'm like crying.
That is terrifying.
That's like a story that I've kind of been working on a little bit. Something in the woods that keeps calling you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that shit.
I feel like we have one of these stories every year. It feels like. But
it's such a common thing. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Did you say where this story took place?
No.
It's like the Appalachian Mountains or whatever.
No.
You hear things in the woods, and they tell you, like, if you hear something calling to you from the woods,
ignore it. Yeah,
no,
I
you
mean
didn't.
that's a common thing from like Appalachian folklore stuff.
Oh man,
Ignore the like if you hear anybody calling your name, ignore it.
yeah, that sucks. Ooh, that's spooky. I don't.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that, and I also hate it. So
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna wrap us up here. This is from Aromatic Industry 401 in the Backwoods Creepy subreddit. I
Ooh,
I
okay.
I discovered this one today, just kind of Googling around trying to find it. I hadn't found this subreddit before. Something found me in Maine. Back in
Oh.
2010, I was driving around looking for a place to bird hunt. I finally stopped at a piece of town owned property that I had only gone on once before, and that was to fish for trout in a brook that crossed about a mile in. After parking, I started down an old tote road that split the property for its entire length. The day was very nice, and nothing seemed unusual. I followed the road until I got to the far side of an old wood yard that butted up against the stream. That's when it just got quiet. The opening was probably 20 yards across the brook, hidden behind some alders on the other side. I sensed it before I heard it. Something told me not to go across the clearing to the stream. I spent a lifetime in the woods, and I've only had that feeling a few times. The first sound that I heard were heavy steps, very deliberate and slow. I couldn't see what was making that sound, and for no reason, I felt fear. I knew that I did not want to see what was approaching me. It stopped at the brook, and I heard it cross and walk to the edge of the alders, then stop.
Mm.
All that I had was a single shot 20 gauge with bird shot. I had a feeling of danger. It moved on the inside of the alders to my left a few yards at a time. The only glimpse that I caught was a dark, narrow figure,
Oh.
very tall, as in at
Oh.
least 7 foot.
Oh.
Not knowing what else to do, I pointed my shotgun in the air and touched off a shot. It just stayed where it was.
Mm-mm.
I shouted. It did not move. That little voice told me to go. Don't run, but go. As I backed up, the alders where I last heard it moved and parted as if it was getting a better look at me.
Ugh.
But whatever it was stayed right there as if to let me know it saw me and to go no further. That mile walk back to my truck left as if I was walking through a cemetery at night, always turning around, looking everywhere. This encounter has played over and over in my mind. I don't know what that was. I've never gone back, only because something inside of me is saying it would not end well. 14 years later, and it still scares me. Anyways, that's my encounter, and I've never told anyone until now. That's one I feel like we have talked about this before, but like when you've got the avid woodsman spooked,
Mm-hmm.
you've accomplished something. Like these are not generally scared people. So for something like that, and we've talked about the gut quite a bit, like your gut feeling, trusting your intuition in those sort of situations, it's very weird. But I kind of want to expand on this story because there's a really interesting reply to this story
Okay.
in the comments. And this is from a user named Crazy Tech Wizard 96.
Oh.
First things first, next time save that round for if it comes to hunt you. Second, I've seen plenty of weird shit in them woods around here and other woods and even the desert. If it stares and gazes upon you, just tell them that you're just coming through, or in that case, that you're already leaving. I've encountered some strange beings over the years, and these woods around me are kind of a hot spot for weird shit. But it is what it is.
What?
Just try not to piss those things off, but befriend them, and it's all right. Also, do you remember how the moon was standing, or at least what date it was? Moon phase, and if the first frost and fog was around, full moon 3 days before, 3 days after, same goes for new moon. And then when the first frost comes and the fog, trust me, when the sun just went down, shit goes otherworldly up here, especially near those meadows where I've posted a bit and a few stories of and around, stuff just glitches over into another dimension. I'm going to end it there because it does get a little weird. I swear I just heard a horse neighing outside my window.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, you should have ended with that one. That was a good one. Like, could have ended us off.
I didn't know, but to me, like, the story is weird, but the fact that there's somebody in the comments like, yeah, like, you need to be able to protect yourself if those things decide to hunt you. And I thought it was interesting too, because we've talked about ley lines quite a bit on this show too,
or like weird spots.
And the guy specifically saying like it glitches into another dimension over there. Pretty interesting.
I like that. I mean, I like that idea that it's stuff bleeding through from somewhere else. I'm on board with that theory. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I still just I don't have any desire to go into the deep woods after reading stuff like this.
No.
You just never know.
Well, then that like cone of silence, which we brought up on the episode that we had with Ryan.
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay. So I have like a more human one.
All right. Let's hear it.
So I have two stories from this same one. I'm not going to read the longer one unless we really want to, but so this is what has been your most bone-chilling, hair-raising, let's get the hell out of here experience. And this is from Jason Hackwith, which is fun.
Okay.
I don't tell this story often, but this seems like a good place. Back in college, I used to drive up the Oregon coast on weekends, then just crash in my car when I got tired. I woke from a nap in the driver's seat, and something just didn't feel quite right. It was just dusk, and the light was fading pretty fast. I yawned and stretched, and as I did so, I turned my head to the side and just caught a face ducking down below my rear passenger window.
Ooh,
I went to hit the lock button just to make sure, and in my panic, I accidentally unlocked the doors briefly and then locked them again. I stared at the window for a few minutes, knowing that someone was crouching just out of sight. Eventually, I started the car and thought I heard a scuffling sound. Whoever it was didn't reappear, but that was enough for me. As I noped out of there and pulled out back onto Highway 101, I glanced back and a bald figure in a red t-shirt with something wrapped around his face booked it into the woods on the side of the road.
Nah, man.
That was the end of that weekend trip. I drove the 2 hours back to my dorm room, white-knuckled hands locked on the steering wheel. I had to pull over a few miles down the road, though, to deal with the adrenaline shakes. That's it.
Just like, think about these encounters, like what could have happened.
Just to see somebody ducking, the pure panic that would go through you.
I don't know what would happen. I might have a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of druggies up there.
Well, yeah, that's true.
In the deep woods, you're getting a lot of methed out people, and
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking more serial killer than anything paranormal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, you don't want to have to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Well, I mean, people are definitely the scariest thing. The next one, I can read it because we have 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're good on time here. Let's do it.
So this from Nevermind04. I worked a lot in remote areas of West Texas, servicing oil field related equipment. One time I was out in the middle of nowhere as usual, and to the northeast was a butte, an isolated hill that's bigger than a regular hill but smaller than a mountain. But everywhere else around was pretty flat. There was one road in and out of the site I was at. At some point when I was working on a control box, I had the overwhelming feeling that I was being watched. I scanned the horizon, looked all around the butte, and went back to work. This happened a few more times within several minutes until I finally saw something move on the side of one of the rock outcroppings on the butte. I went to my truck, grabbed my binoculars, and the figure hid behind that outcropping. It was definitely a human. I hate this. I glassed him for a good 20 minutes, and I could see him peek around every couple of minutes. Eventually, he leaned out so far that I could see the silhouette of the barrel of a rifle slung around his back. At some point, he was hidden behind his rock for a while, and the next time he peeked out, I couldn't see the rifle. He had either put it down somewhere or he was now holding it.
Oh, God.
I immediately felt a sense of impending doom. The hair on my arms and neck was standing straight up. I very quickly collected my tools, got my AR-15 from behind the driver's seat,
There you go.
and sat it on the passenger seat and tore out of there. I sped down the dirt road, almost clipped the cattle guard, and started cruising down the highway just as the adrenaline started to wear off. I remember the metal taste in my mouth and having to grip the steering wheel to keep my fingers from twitching. A few miles down the road, a maroon Suburban full of guys was pulled over on the oncoming side of the road. They definitely weren't oil field workers. Shades all around, buzzed heads, all intently looking at me. I expected them to pull a U-turn and pursue me, but they didn't. I can't prove that this is what was happening, but I do know that cartel guys run operations where one scouts for guys working alone and calls in a group of guys to rob them of their truck and tools.
Fuck.
It's just a guy watching me with a fucking gun.
Yeah, man.
In the middle of nowhere.
That's terrifying.
Just to see a little guy peeking out from a rock looking at you with his gun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, gut feeling, intuition. Listen to it.
Definitely.
You feel like you got to get out of there. Get the fuck out of there.
I mean, I read through so many, but there was one I read where this guy worked like on planes. Like he was doing it himself. So he's loading up the luggage and then he was going to back up the plane, give him the signals or whatever. And he was kind of rushing and he was ducking down after uncabling like gas or something. I don't know. But his leg locked up and he didn't make like the full turn he was going to. Like his leg just wouldn't move. And when he realized, he was like about to fucking walk into the propeller.
Oh my God.
Like, so his body just was like, nope. And I feel like that's part of it too. Like sometimes your subconscious picks up on things faster than your conscious brain, which is crazy because it's like you are more than just your active thoughts. Like your body is picking up on signals before you're thinking them.
Science.
So that's what the gut feeling is. It's just your instincts picking up on shit before you consciously realize what's happening.
Man. Listen to your gut.
Yeah.
That's the big takeaway from today's show, I guess. Well, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got. It's not that good.
I think
I think Reddit's going downhill, man.
I do think Reddit's going downhill a little bit for sure. We'll have to up the ante next year and have to try and maybe we expand it beyond Reddit and we just go find like true creepy stories in general somewhere.
Yeah, just like random blogs and stuff.
Yeah. We'll do that. I don't know. I think the grandma voice is the creepiest one.
That's a good one. Yeah, I should have had that last. That was the last one I found. And I was like, let me move this up because I'm definitely reading this one.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it. Year 5. If I'm doing the math correctly, that means we've shared 30 stories from Reddit.
Wow.
On this podcast. If we do 6 each episode.
And I can remember like one. I remember some creepy ghost girl in like a cemetery.
I don't remember that one. I also remember you had a creepy one about a runner out running by someone that was just kind of like staring at the sky, like weird kind of.
That was last year too. That was a good one.
That was a pretty good one, but yeah.
It was like in Japan or something, maybe.
If you like the format of this show, we got 4 more episodes in the backlog
that are probably better than this one.
Go back to listen to that one. Do you remember what our other spooky season episodes have been? I know this year we did Edgar Allan Poe. We did werewolves.
Mothman was one, I think.
Mothman. We've done Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if you can vamp for a second and just tell these fine people all about what you're doing right now, then I can pull up the list and we can go through it. No, I can't actually, because my internet's being super slow. But I don't remember.
No.
Were the goblins in Hopkinsville? Was that a Halloween episode?
I don't like. We've done a lot of creepy stuff that isn't just stuck to whatever. I don't know.
I'm still looking at this cat. This cat's still freaked out about something.
Is he?
That freaks me out. What are you doing, Bucky? You being a good boy? He's like, fuck off. Scared the shit out of me when I was trying to sleep. Fuck off. All right, Rooster. Where can our listeners find you on the social medias?
At Rooster_Chase on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm at Stoney Keeley on Twitter and TikTok, at Stoney Keeley 615 on Instagram, at SoBros Network, everywhere else, wherever you take in your social media. Rate, review, subscribe to Phone It In, wherever you take in your podcasts. That's how we get better. And we always want to be better for you guys. Check out all of our work at SoBrosNetwork.com. And like I said, hey, scroll through those backlogs. We got some good episodes. It's Halloween week, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can find some good stuff in the backlogs. There's a lot of good festive Phone It In episodes for the occasion.
I think it's true of YouTube though. Like I also I enjoy watching the scary shorts on YouTube, and I feel like they've gone downhill as well. So I don't know what's happening to scary stuff.
I can't see it. If I see it, I'll get too fucking freaked out and just turn it off.
I watched one that like a lot of people watched it, won awards, and I'm like, what is this garbage?
Yeah, maybe that's the case. I don't know. We'll be back. Do you know what we're going to do in a couple of weeks? We haven't even talked about it. Yeah, we're going to do another show in a couple of weeks, but
yes.
We don't know what it is yet.
Nope.
But until then, for the Cryptid Queen Rooster, I'm Big Natural Stoney Keeley, and you stay classy, phoners.
Bye.